So yesterday I played some aggro Shadow Face Priest, and I did okay with it, but there were a lot of things in the deck I didn't like. Actually, all of the spells I felt were kind of bad, and I looked at a list on HS Replay, and the spells were all like the worst cards in the deck. So I found out that you can play Dark Bishop Benedictus with no spells in deck, and you still get Shadow Form. So that's what I went for here. We're playing 30 minions. And now, instead of closing out games with, what is that card even called? Void Shard? Yeah. Now we close out games with Battleground Battlemaster, which is a card that's proven itself to be good in other aggressive decks. And, we already play, like, Dragonmaw Overseer, which leads pretty nicely into the Battlegrounds Battlemaster. And it looks like Traveling Merchant is starting to make its way into the Priest decks. So this thing can, like, pretty reasonably have 5 or 6 attack, also good with the Battlemaster. And I added a few more things that are good with it. Notably, King Mukla, 3 mana 5/5, you love to see it. I'm always happy when Mukla can be played in the deck. And also a couple copies of Burrowing Scorpid. The Scorpid, just like, it's a pretty much guaranteed setup for the Battlemaster on turn 4. And it's also just 2 damage to the face if you need to close out a game. And I also played around with the early game a little bit. Wriggling Horror is a card that I wasn't playing yesterday, but I think is becoming pretty standard in these lists. Same thing with Cool Tehran Chaplain. I'm also playing a couple copies of Sneaky Delinquent. It's just a good card to lead into Overseer. It's good with Battlemaster. Kinda good with Traveling Merchant. I think it's just a good card. And I did cut some card draw, so the Death Rattle is nice as well. And finally, in the 1 mana slot, I'm playing a Reliquary of Souls and a Peasant. I just wanted some more 1-drops. These seemed like the best options available to me. I kind of want to keep Mukla against Warlock, but without a solid 2-drop, it's probably not good. I'm sorry I mulliganed you, Wriggling Horror. Please come back to me. I was arrogant. I think I like Peasant here. Fairly unlikely it dies. Probably only ever dies to Touch of the Nathrezim. Wow, that's an insane play. Let's go ahead and trade this. I really want to play the Dragonmaw Overseer next turn. But I guess I'll play the Spirit. Really want to get the Homunculus online. Okay, so they are playing the quest. They just gave my Peasant a lot of respect. Which is sort of ironic, I guess. Alright, Mukla on 3. This is what I wanted on turn 1, but I was too much of a coward to keep it. They just concede to Mukla on 3. Let's go, Mukla. Gotta love 1-drops, gotta hate the rogue matchup. Play the minion with the most numbers. Alright, looks like we're making some big minions, which is really nice leading into a turn 5 Battlemaster.
This guy's toast.
Quite a turn 3 my opponent's playing here. I would really like to have 2 minions in play for Battlemaster next turn. Although I guess if I get value traded here, I probably will just hero power plus spirit. Man, my opponent's going off over there with scabs. Wow, my opponent's really not done, huh? Last card I played, I think, was the Void Touched Attendant. If I play Battlemaster here, I deal 16 damage. Seems good. So even if my opponent manages to completely deal with this board, I still have the Shadowed Spirit plus a few hero powers for lethal. Scabs number 7, something like that. So I'm 1 off lethal with Wriggling Horror here, but the Shadowed Spirit should be fine. Or I guess even just the hero power. There's no way I take 26 here. What's the most damage my opponent could potentially do? They have the Gizmo that gives +2. Then they could prep Cold Blood Battlemaster. I would be dead to that.
Target eliminated.
Very nice. I think it's a pretty hard matchup. I had a good opener though. Yep, none of those cost 1. I think I just play the freshman here. There's a world where I would want the 0 mana hero power next turn, but I think it's fairly unlikely.
May the light grant you peace. Count your blessings, mate.
Easy value trade. Well, if I'm playing Mukla, I want to keep the opponent off the board, right?
May the light grant you peace.
Seems like a good use of my Crazed Alchemist.
You love my new recipe.
Then we can just wriggle these two minions. I'm threatening 15 damage next turn. That's pretty scary.
For the Alliance and my family.
And that does slow me down a bit. Attacking Mukla. Oh.
Strike.
Oh, exact. Nice. Mage, very nice. I've been seeing a lot of minion base decks, which this deck doesn't perform very well against.
Alone give me strength.
I like Peasant into Chaplain, especially going first. The opponent can go like Quest, Coin, First Flame to deal with Peasant, but I don't think they're very likely to deal with it. Oh, I want to play this. No, I want to play Peasant. I think the Peasant is just so likely to live here, I want to play it. No! Well, that's okay. Guaranteed, almost guaranteed buff target for a Dragonmaw Overseer. Wow, they just skipped their quest on turn 1. But they do have a second fire spell, so probably makes sense. Dragonmaw Overseer just dies to second flame, but gets a good buff on this. Let's play this instead. Get this homunculus down. Second flame incoming, I'm sure. Although maybe they don't want to use the fire spell. Alright. Got myself a nice chunky 4-5 if I ever happen to hit my Battle Master. And then what, a brain freeze? That's a lot of fire spells. Three mana 5/6, you love to see it. Not really too worried about any of the secrets from that. The secrets actually all suck except for Ice Barrier, right? Because I don't even play any spells. I have a ton of garbage for Mirror Entity. Wow, what a draw. Alright, well I have all my big minions stacked together for Battlemaster. Probably should have the 7-8 and the 5-6 closer to the middle with the 3 power minions to the side, but whatever, it doesn't really matter that much. Another ice barrier. I think Battlemaster probably just beats ice barrier here, right? Hard to imagine my opponent dealing with this board, but maybe they play, maybe like a good flurry would help them out a lot.
We hunger for vengeance.
First flame, second flame, brain freeze, and they're still dead. Oh, fire sale, okay. They're still dead, though. Although I guess they can draw a 0 mana playable card. Insane traveling merchants. Druid. I think I'm favored against Druid. I haven't played this matchup much. I did lose my last 2 games against Druid, so that's not a good sign, I guess. Wriggling Horror's potentially good. I think I'd probably rather just find another 1-drop for turn 1, but... When do I want to play the Cult Neophyte? I got wrecked by Glowfly Swarm last time, but I don't know if playing it specifically going into turn 5 really matters. I don't know, the Wriggling Horror is probably fine. Maybe I had another 1-drop and played on turn 2 instead of Neophyte. Or maybe I played on turn 3 to buff Freshman and Neophyte. I think I mulliganed to Battlegrounds Battlemaster. And somehow I drew the only card in my deck worse than that for the mulligan. Alright, so the opponent is playing Quest Druid. As long as they don't Solar Eclipse Pounce here, my 1/4 is going to survive. Do I want to coin out a Shadowed Spirit instead of playing Cult Neophyte? I kind of want to. I feel like the Neophyte's just like so insane on certain turns. I'm kind of tempted to hold it for the Glowfly at this point. The Nightmare is Lunar Eclipse plus Fungal Fortunes. Just Fungal is fine, I think. Oh, Mukla. We're playing Mukla. Let's go. This is how the deck is designed to be played. Mukla in hand on turn 3. Mukla on board on turn 3. Now just don't innervate Glowfly Swarm. Oh, Overgrowth. Not quite what I wanted to see, but I think it's fine. looking like an attendant lethal. Beautiful. Alright, so I've played a lot of games with this deck. Something like 35 or 40 games maybe. And things were going pretty poorly, but I did manage to finish out on a 6-game win streak to secure the 50% win rate. So good deck confirmed. I will say though that I'm still not in love with the archetype. It does seem like the original version I played, or even this version where I changed like 10 or 12 cards, maybe more than that. It seems like if you play against another board-based deck, shamans, rogues, paladins, it seems like you have a really hard time either killing the opponent before they take over the board, or just like winning the board at all, even if you start playing good stuff from turn 1. So I still don't have that much faith in the longevity of this deck. But if the deck is going to stick around, I think maybe some of the changes I made have some merit going forward. The Battlemaster is just a good card. I think it works really nicely with the Merchants, the Shadowed Spirit, and I think I like Mukla in the deck. Mukla is not great into board-based matchups, but it's so good in the other matchups that I think it's fine. The Scorpit is an inclusion I made that I think is a little bit sketchier. Just doesn't always have good targets. Sometimes it's too expensive. And since we added a couple of 5-drops to the deck, maybe we don't want such a clunky minion. Maybe it makes sense to replace this with Void Shard for just some more consistent damage output. But sometimes the Scorpit is also insane, and the Battlemaster synergy is insane as well. As far as the early game, I think I liked pretty much everything. If I was going to cut a 1-drop, it probably would be the Peasant, but I think the Peasant was fine as well. I don't think there's another 1-drop you can really replace it with, so you, I think, only cut it if you just think there are too many 1-drops. Although if you're really in the market for damage, maybe you just play Abusive Sergeant. Not really a 1-drop though, but it does do some damage. Fulfills a similar role to the Elven Archer, but it's a little bit better at playing for the board. Maybe Guardian Og Merchant would also be okay, but I didn't really find a ton of targets that I thought would be great for the Og Merchant, but it probably is quite good in the board-based matchups. I don't know if it's good enough to turn those matchups, though. Or, you know, maybe you just play this Crimson Clergy, ignore the text on it, and play another Dire Mole in the deck. Dire Moles are pretty good when you have Wriggling Horrors and Void Touched Attendants. I think if I was going to cut a card at the moment, it would probably be the Dragonmaw Overseer. It's pretty good into things like Quest Mage that don't really fight for the board too hard. But even in those matchups, it just dies to like First Flame. It dies to pretty much any of their removal spells. And in the board-based matchups, this card is just dead so often. And even when you get the effect off, it gets value traded, and then like sometimes the thing that got buffed just trades with the thing that value traded, and it looks pretty ugly sometimes. But I don't necessarily know what I would replace it with. Probably another 3-drop or maybe a 2-drop. I've seen Mindrender Lucia. Maybe that's a good reload for the deck. Maybe Frozen Shadow Weaver could help you in the board-based matchups. Maybe Mancrick. Mancrick is a card I cut since I cut the Thrive in Shadows. But yeah, there are some options. I guess the Robes of Protection as well, but I think that just makes your good matchups better. I don't know if that's really where you want to be going. But anyway, yeah, I mean, I think the deck is fine. I don't think it's insane. But I won half my games.